Some updates on what's going on with the Washington Commanders coaching search. All right, we've got Adam Peters. He was hired as the GM last week from San Francisco. We've got all of these interviews lined up, and they're starting to knock them down. This, according to Albert Breer. Texans OC Bobby Slowick had his second interview with the Commanders yesterday. He has a second interview with the Falcons on Thursday. And then this from Tom Pelissero. He says the Commanders and Falcons, both these teams seem to be working in conjunction almost.
Yeah.
They're both expected to send a contingent to Detroit next week to conduct second interviews with Lions OC Ben Johnson and DC Aaron Glenn. So Washington is going to send people to Ben Johnson, I guess regardless of what happens in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
That's when you know you're wanted, when the teams they're flying out to you. They're not even making you fly here for the interview. They're like, you know what?
We'll stay there.
We'll do it on your terms. We are coming to you,
Well,
Ben
those
Johnson.
guys are busy, obviously prepping for huge games.
Of course.
So they were doing second interviews with Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris this week. Second interview with Bobby Slowick. That went down on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Those are the guys who have all been eliminated from the playoffs.
Right.
So these guys that are still in the playoffs, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, you got to wait till next week, and they're just going to fly as fast as they can to them because Ben Johnson's interviewed with 5 teams. So it was all via Zoom. Now some of these jobs are being filled. Titans got filled. Chargers expected to hire Harbaugh. The amazing thing is Atlanta, they're in on every coach, it seems like.
Yep.
Did they just not like Bill Belichick, or what's going on? Because the assumption was if Belichick comes to see you, you're probably going to get the gig.
I guess they're trying not to look too desperate, too thirsty with Belichick. And maybe they just feel like they can wait it out because is Belichick really going to go to 2 or 3 other teams? He almost seems like pigeonholed at this point to Atlanta. Like, are other teams going to swoop in and hire Belichick? I don't think the Commanders are showing any interest in Belichick.
Well,
the Panthers expressed interest. The Titans' job filled up. The Falcons might just feel like, you know what? Belichick could be our top option, but we're still going to shop around and go back to him later.
Could you see Ben Johnson picking, if it came down to Ben Johnson is going to pick?
Yeah.
All right, and he seems to be wanted. Could you see him picking Atlanta over Washington?
I personally think if Washington decides they want him, they'll get him. They'll just pay him more, and they're just going to woo him.
That's the old Snyder way, but it's not like Arthur Blank doesn't have money.
Yeah, he's got home money.
I'm not saying all these guys are rich.
Yeah,
but they're not all necessarily. Like San Diego is known for not paying as well.
Okay, but Atlanta could throw every dollar that Josh Harris wants to throw at.
But he doesn't
whoever
also
the head
have
coach
every
candidate
dollar
is.
and the second pick and 5 in the top 100 and $80 million in cap space.
But he's got toys that Ben Johnson can play with. He's got Drake London. He's got Kyle Pitts.
Bijan.
He's got Bijan Robinson.
Right, but where do they pick in the draft?
They've also
eighth.
I mean, so maybe they'll get Penix.
I don't know if a guy like Ben Johnson even does he look at the division? Go, this is a winnable division every single year.
I don't
know.
He's a very thorough guy. I'm sure
who knows what they're looking at? But
I don't know.
It could be close. Who knows?
And I'm also like I know this is not a great thing, but I'm just kind of staying out of it. I'm not going to get attached to any of these guys. I'm just going to root for them, and I hope they hit.
So their GM, the Falcons GM, is Terry Fontenot.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's going to be a surprise announcement, or do you think it's going to be someone that we kind of expected? Well, when I say surprise, I guess like
if anybody
Aaron Glenn,
other than Ben Johnson, it's going to be a somewhat of a surprise because the consensus from the people that cover the team is they want Ben Johnson. They're going to get Ben Johnson.
I
read something yesterday in the afternoon
and that's what Finley's
that
telling
it's like
us.
a done deal.
Yeah, I thought Grant and Danny were doing a good bit yesterday.
But
Grant and Danny had callers call in, and then they were naming the coaches and asking for their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Since you are a Commanders fan, give me your feeling they hire Ben Johnson.
Again, I'm staying medium.
So you're medium.
I would be excited. I would be excited at the idea that we might have an innovative offense.
Okay, Ben Johnson. What about if they hired Bobby Slowick, who they interviewed second time?
Same thing.
Same thing. What if they hired Aaron Glenn?
Out on Aaron Glenn.
I like Glenn.
I didn't like the shtick he was doing on Hard Knocks.
Dan Quinn.
But that's the way he is. I don't know if that's shtick. I think that's the way he is. I think he's fiery.
Even worse. No, I don't mind fiery. I didn't like he and Staley were like goofing with each other. I just thought they were making a joke.
So you're going to exclude
practice.
him just for that
yes.
5-second clip?
Looked pretty businesslike on the sideline in the playoff game I just watched.
Yeah,
I know. Hey, beauty's in the eye.
I'm a
of the
judgmental
beholder.
person. You're being way too judgmental on him.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
All right,
I ruled out Staley.
Well, he also would.
He was better than Staley, though.
Okay. So
I'll give him that.
Oh, yeah.
you know, what about your feelings for
Dan Quinn?
Dan Quinn.
My gut is to not be excited, but he was pretty impressive for most of the season this year. And when Cakes keeps bringing up that clip where the guy says, "Listen, he's the best leader out there by
That was
far."
a JP Finley tweet.
Yeah. So I don't know who he was quoting. Just
I don't
some
know. He
NFL
took it from
league
somewhere.
guy.
I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, he's fine. He would be fine.
What about Raheem Morris?
I told you I like Raheem Morris more than no one likes him here. Apparently, we did the poll yesterday. I like him as a leader kind of guy.
Yeah, the poll. Let me see. Our Junkies poll of the day, brought to you by Van Meter Homes, yesterday was: would you be excited for Raheem Morris? You can still vote, but 75% no. About
People are
2,500
no.
votes.
I just have a sense.
I think everybody's no except for Ben Johnson.
I'm the only guy that likes Raheem Morris.
I'm not excited for defensive coach retreads. Like that combination to me, it does less than nothing.
What
for
I
me.
like about him, and I can't convince Cakes, is that he's kind of like a young prodigy who's now grown into the job. Been there. He's been at 2 Super Bowl winners. He's worked with the very best.
When you say prodigy, that to me, that's like McVay, Shanahan.
Hold on. When you're an NFL head coach at 32, you're a young prodigy. You're an NFL head coach at 32.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're a prodigy.
He's a defensive guy, so he's never going to call any defensive guy. What about the guy on the Ravens side? The Ravens defensive coordinator, is he a prodigy?
Yes.
See, if it's defense, he's not going to call him a prodigy.
Yeah,
you have to be a play caller. You have to be a play caller for Cakes to call you a prodigy.
If you were hired as an NFL head coach at 32 and you're best friends with the Shannies and McVays and all those guys, you worked with all those guys, I'm sorry, you're in that club, in my opinion. Now, he didn't succeed.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was a bad hire.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
But he did have a 110 win year, right?
Yes.
And
it also could have smacked of desperation by the Bucs to hire him. You have to look back at that, too.
Okay.
Like, just because you hire a 32-year-old guy doesn't mean you're instantly a prodigy.
Your guys are all probably
Prodigy
right.
means you're special. Like, that's what that...
How many guys get hired as an NFL head coach at 32?
I don't know. But just because you get hired as
Doesn't
one
happen.
at 32 doesn't mean you're
McVay.
good at the job.
You got to have a certain level of competence, unless you're Dan Snyder hiring Jim Zorn.
Look, you have a different definition of prodigy than I do, apparently. Like a young...
I think if you're a young
high-achieving
if you're like the
superstar.
youngest ever at that time to be hired at something, that qualifies as prodigy for me.
Okay. We
All right, so
agree
you're
to
okay
disagree.
with
What do you think prodigy is?
Prodigy to me means you overachieve and you're super successful at what you did at a young age.
He got to
You
be an
don't-
NFL head coach
Yeah,
at
but
32.
he was a failure as an NFL head
Freddie
coach at a
Adu was
young
a
age.
prodigy.
He was.
He was.
It didn't,
He was.
Freddie Adu.
The soccer
Freddie-
player.
he was.
for
Yeah.
And he
DC.
failed.
How'd it turn out long term? That doesn't mean anything.
Okay, true. I'm not saying it doesn't mean he can't fail, but you're right. Freddie Adu was a prodigy. I agree. And he failed.
But are you hiring him as a head coach just because you think he was a prodigy
No.
15 years ago?
He's a prodigy, and people say he's a great leader.
Yep.
It's great in the locker room. So
I think Aaron
combining those
Glenn's
things.
probably exactly the same.
I
He
didn't,
just hasn't had the head coaching
I
job
didn't
yet.
like the playing up to the cameras that he and Deuce Staley did.
That was like he said, was 5 seconds.
It was incredibly annoying. I expect you to be a professional football coach. I didn't like the
Yeah, but
shtick.
you're not allowed to have fun?
Raheem Morris could probably do the same thing if you watch Raheem Morris on the sidelines. You have no idea.
He's professional.
I think you're wrong on that. But
The way I look at Raheem Morris,
but I don't
and
think it's going to be Raheem or Aaron Glenn.
the way I look at Raheem Morris, and certainly it could go south with his second gig is, all right, first gig didn't go well. Same thing for Bill Belichick.
Thank you.
Pete Carroll, right, was the head coach of the Jets. Sometimes these NFL coaches get a crack at it, and certain circumstances, maybe they don't have the right quarterback, whatever, it doesn't work out. And then they get a second shot, and then they're really good. Right. So Pete Carroll, obviously, was super successful in college, too. with the Seattle Seahawks. But if you went back to the Jets, I don't know what his record was.
Even with the Patriots.
That's true.
Prior to that, he sucked.
Yeah.
Sucked.
Bill Belichick with the Browns.
Yeah. No, I know. Listen, I'm just taking everything into account.
I still don't understand how Vrabel's name. I saw Vrabel interviewed.
You the day he was released, I think he's a great coach.
Vrabel, I think he did 2 interviews with Atlanta. Did I read that? I think he was
Atlanta's
with Atlanta.
interviewing everybody.
I understand that, but there's only how many openings are left? 5?
I think
Seattle's
4.
still open. Carolina, Washington.
Was there only 4? Well, the Chargers are technically still open, but I think Harbaugh is going to be announced today. Atlanta. All right.
Draft, did
Carolina?
you see that?
Yeah.
They said Pete Carroll's pushing the Chargers. You saw that?
That was a Florio rumor. I think
I saw somebody else. I didn't read Florio.
I mean,
maybe it was Florio.
maybe he's interested, but I don't know if it's being reciprocated by Chargers.
Correct.
I can't see that. I mean, it would be great. I mean,
No,
Pete owns LA still, but
no, but I mean, it makes all the sense in the world because Pete Carroll clearly was pushed out in Seattle,
right.
And it makes all the sense in the world that he would be like hitting up the Chargers. I understand if they're not interested and they want a younger guy or something, that makes sense to me too. But
well, they want Harbaugh.
Would you like that though? Because I know you want him to be,
I'll be
all
honest,
your own.
if there was one team that I would want Pete Carroll to go to, it'd probably
the
be the
Chargers because you're a Justin Herbert guy.
I like Herbert. Him going back to LA would be kind of cool.
Right.
I'm guessing just based on all the reports that you're seeing that the Harbaugh to Chargers will happen today. Today or tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm surprised the Belichick thing. He's had 2 interviews. How disrespectful is it? If you're Bill Belichick, you meet with Arthur Blank and the Falcons twice, and they're like, hold on, we're flying to Detroit to meet with Ben Johnson next week.
If you're Bill Belichick, no one would do this.
He's
would
like,
you walk in with all your rings?
Ben Johnson.
Would you walk in the interview?
No.
It's a great move.
You know, he did that.
It's a
Didn't he
great
do that at
power
a press
move.
conference? There's a meme of him or a GIF of him, and he just kind of like
embrace
Does he
flashes.
have 10? Because he's got 6 as the head coach of the Patriots, right? But how many does he have as an assistant?
At least 1 or 2.
It's a good
Yeah,
power
probably.
move.
I mean, why wouldn't you just walk into your meeting and just go,
Because you don't even have to. You're Belichick. Everyone knows you got
I know,
a
but
billion
just people can forget because they can think like me. Well, you sucked the last 4 years or whatever. But if you just do
But
this,
you know how insulted he must be?
hire the guy.
If you've got 6 Super Bowls, you're Bill Belichick, and they're saying, all right, we've interviewed you twice, but hold on.
Right. Yeah.
There's this guy that's been offense coordinator for like 2 minutes, Ben Johnson.
Right.
He's still in the playoffs. We want to meet with him
Or
next week.
Even though I'm advocating, or if they go, you know what, it's between you and Raheem Morris. We just don't know. We really like Raheem.
That's where
He's
he
a
might just say,
smart
you
guy.
know what? I'm gonna go on my boat in Annapolis and just cruise out of the Chesapeake Bay and leave all this nonsense behind.
It's got to. You know what? It's got to be humbling. It's got to be humbling.
He was so humbled he went to Chick-fil-A either before or after his interview in Atlanta. There was a picture of him just standing at the counter, just ordering. The Locky wasn't using the Chick-fil-A app. No chance. He just went right up and ordered.
Yeah. My kids, they do use the Chick-fil-A app because it.
Gets rewards.
Well, we do it because you can actually order it from like 10 minutes away.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then by
yeah.
the time you
Yeah.
get
And
there.
you just put your parking space. Like I go to one
Yeah.
where you got to just put your parking space.
Yeah, and they run it out to you. Or you could just go inside. You can
Yeah.
pick.
I feel bad whoring the Chick-fil-A employee. Like, you got to walk out in bad weather and bring me my food. Like, I feel like I could go in there and pick it up.
You're
It's
a nicer
okay.
person than me.
It's
That
okay.
doesn't occur to me.
I just don't want to. I don't want to sit in the drive-through because it's
I don't like
interminable. The line is just
I don't
the
like
double
drive-through.
line. It just takes forever.
I went to McDonald's the other day, and I told you, I can't believe the number of people that still go to McDonald's, myself included.
Yeah.
It's a great place, but it's unbelievable how many people still go to McDonald's.
Of course,
Yeah.
they love
all
the
the
golden
time.
arches.
It's never
They
not
love them.
packed.
Cheap. It's cheap.
Yeah.
Food's good and it's cheap.
And you know what you're getting.
Correct.
You know
And when
exactly
the
what you're
Caps,
getting.
if the Caps score in the last minute, McNugget minute, you get
right.
free nuggets.
Their
You're
staying
obsessed with
power.
that.
Their staying power is unreal.
yeah,
The juggernaut.
Always will be.
it's
Yep.
it's an American institution.
Back
what
to
it
the
is.
Commanders coaching search. What this kind of tells me, though, is I think by this time next week, they're going to have the head coach. Because if you're flying out to Detroit, or maybe you're flying to San Francisco.
to their
Maybe
top
they're not
candidate.
wasting any time. And they're like, all right, they're playing San Francisco. Assuming the Niners win, We're just flying to his hotel in San Francisco. We're flying out there.
Well,
we're going to meet with them there.
If I'm Dan Campbell, there's no chance that if you fly, it's happening after the game. There's no chance. There's no chance you're.
Yes, but I'm saying
an interview with
the
my guy
Washington's contingent.
12 hours before the game.
Maybe they say don't bother flying to Detroit.
Right.
We just stay in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
We'll meet with you on Monday morning at your hotel in San Francisco,
Maybe.
assuming they lose, and they wrap that puppy up by like Tuesday.
I don't know. So you're predicting within a week they'll announce?
It's kind of my sense of it.
I mean,
what are you waiting for?
I don't know. I'm surprised some of these teams, obviously the Titans have already announced. I think the Chargers are really close. I'm surprised that Belichick hasn't been announced with Atlanta.
What are the protocols? Say the Lions win. That's a long shot, but say they win. Can they hire him while he's still the offensive coordinator?
That one I'm not sure of.
They've done
in
that
the
in the
playoffs?
past.
I think it's
Guys have
happened.
done that in the past. Maybe the rules have changed, but I can remember guys getting a job, but then they still coach in a Super Bowl.
I know they can meet with him
Yeah.
regardless of them winning or losing because
Right.
you've got 2 weeks before the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, they're competing with Atlanta, apparently. It is pretty
I will
amazing.
say this, and then I know we got to go to break. There's something to be said for getting your guy, like you target, but there's also something to be said to giving everybody an honest shot. Like,
Correct.
Like maybe Bobby Slowick blows you away.
Maybe the enemy does.
So I don't.
Maybe Anthony Weaver.
For one thing I know,
Does
Danny
in
ain't
person.
blowing anybody away. But maybe you know what? So like, I don't want them to just get the guy they targeted. I want them to get the best guy.
Sure.
And I like the fact they brought in all these guys. And so I'm open to if it's freaking Dan Quinn, fine. I'm assuming these guys are smart. The only one I'll know where they're dumb is if they hire Bieniemy. They can hire anybody else on the planet, and I'm not going to.
Well, that's why they're doing 20 interviews.
Right. But if they do 20 interviews and then they end up with Ben Johnson, was he really the best?
Right.
Or did they just hire him because
they targeted him.